Welcome to the latest edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by Bet Rivers. And I've been talking about this for a couple of days, and now it is finally here. The return of Joe Flacco to the bullpen, the Browns quarterback that led them to the postseason in 2023 and gave fans such excitement for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, whatever it ended up being, is back in Cleveland. He's going to be battling for a job this year. Will there be a real competition? What did he think of them drafting 2 quarterbacks? Is he excited to be back in Cleveland? All of that and more when Joe Flacco joins me in the bullpen right here, brought to you by Bet Rivers.
You're watching Adam the Bull on the Bet Rivers Network.
The magic is back, folks. Everybody was so excited when Joe Flacco played for the Cleveland Browns 2 years ago, and they went nuts again when he re-signed the Browns with the Browns recently, and now he rejoins me in the bullpen. Joe, great to have you with me, and I know everybody is excited to have you back in Cleveland. Are you excited to be back in Cleveland?
Yeah, of course. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't excited about it. So,
you know, it was crazy because, and we talked about this when you were on the last time, but just the fact that and I've been covering this team for a long time, the fact that the fans went so head over heels for you, a guy who had been the quarterback of the most hated team in Cleveland, it just thinking back about it still, is it still hard to believe how the fans just fell in love with you?
Yeah, it is. I think it was just one of those unique things where timing and certain other things kind of came together right at the right moment and just happened to work out like that.
You know, I got to get to the most important question here. You haven't spent that much time in Cleveland as someone who is from the pizza capital of the world, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. Have you found a place to get a decent slice in Cleveland, or are you someone who is so good with your health and that you don't eat pizza?
No, I'll eat pizza. I went somewhere last year downtown. I forget the name of the place though. It's kind of like a little. I think so. You walk in there, it's not very big. There's a bar, there's a little bar set up. Yeah, that's where I went last year. Okay. So I'll probably head back there. And I feel like I looked at something recently and kind of found something else that might have intrigued me. Once again, I don't know what the name of it was, but I might check out a couple new spots.
All right, that's good. It's good that we got you in the right places.
That's right.
The pizza scene here in Cleveland. Is preparation this, like, as you've gotten older, have you changed your preparation for the season? Is it drastically different or no?
No, it's not drastically different. I've tweaked probably things here and there. The last couple of years, I've honestly just kind of gotten in the weight room a little bit more than I probably did early in my career. That was, early in my career, that the working out, the physical side of it probably wasn't I didn't realize how important it was. But as my career has kind of gone on and all that stuff, I've seen how important it is to be in that weight room, not just for longevity in your career, but just kind of staying healthy throughout the course of the season. It really makes a difference. So,
when you obviously you go to Indianapolis last year and coming off the season that you did with the Browns, where there was so much success, obviously, in Indianapolis, the team didn't have a great season, not terrible, but not a great season. Was that hard after coming down off the high of the previous season?
I think I'm able to kind of separate each year and make it its own thing. But I think anytime you're on a team that's, capable of kind of turning the corner and having a good year, but you don't quite make it happen, I think anytime you're a part of that, it can be difficult. You kind of go into the locker room and you're looking at each other every day and, you're trying to search for the things to get it going in the right direction, and you just can't quite put it together. So yeah, there's definitely things about that can kind of make life a little bit more difficult. But listen, at the same time, like that's part of the job here is to kind of avoid those things. But when you are faced with them, deal with them and try to get better from them. So
in general, how much do you pay attention to the NFL draft? Obviously, we're just coming off the draft, and certainly the Browns drafting 2 quarterbacks was kind of eye-opening. And it's an interesting quarterback room, which we'll get into. But what did you think just in general of following the draft and of the Browns drafting 2 quarterbacks?
Yeah, I don't in general follow the draft that much. But I think there was a little bit of curiosity this year, just in terms of, you're on a new team and what's going to happen. I think you kind of have an idea. So, you get little updates from your phone or from family members here and there. But other than that, I really wasn't paying too much attention.
The Browns have said there's going to be a competition at quarterback. From an outsider's, sometimes teams will say that and then it's not really true. I don't know in this case. Like, I know as fans, we want there to be a competition. We want the best man to win. It seems obvious that if that happens, that you're going to win the job. Obviously, you got the most experience. You've played well. These guys either didn't play or Kenny Pickett hasn't played much, but we want competition as players. Do you really want that? Like, does every player really, maybe not every player, but do you want competition all the time? Is that good for everybody?
Oh, it's the best. I mean, yeah, listen, I think it's a little bit different situation when you're like, obviously, like you've started for 5 years and had a lot of success. The team's won. Obviously, you're not competing. That's ultimately the way you want it. You've done your competition and then you want to get to that point. Right. But that's always the best. It's best for the team because you're having the best guy play. But not only that, it's when you have a true, honest competition, everybody can kind of accept that. Even if you're not the guy, like, you can truly accept it. And it also shows the team, the rest of the team, like, wow, this guy earned it. I think it means a lot more when, it means a lot more when people can feel that as opposed to being told that. So not just from a fan standpoint, from a locker room standpoint, from a quarterback room standpoint, I think it's only good things that, when you have those competitions, because everybody knows it's real in the end, and then they feel really good about moving forward with that.
Do you believe there'll be a real competition for the Browns?
Listen, I've been told that they're going into this thing with an open mind and looking at it in that way. So, somebody in my position, I really don't have any reason not to trust, and I really don't have any other option but to trust that. So, that's what I'm thinking.
I was talking with Joe Thomas yesterday. He's Mr. Brown, of course. Everybody loves him, Hall of Famer, well-respected. And we were talking about the prospects for the Browns this year. And he said, I said, what's the biggest, or one, I don't know if I asked it, but one of my colleagues might have asked it and said, what's the biggest reason for optimism? And he said, bringing Joe back just gives a level of confidence to all the players, especially the veteran players on the team, that here's a professional quarterback, knows how to win, has had success, has won a Super Bowl. He kind of made it as if you lift the whole team. Now, I don't know. I'm not in the locker room. I don't know. Do you feel like the guys responded to you that way, in that, like, the other guys haven't played much?
Yeah.
Is that too much?
I sure hope so. I mean, I think every quarterback hopes they have that impact and wants to be able to look at their guys and have them looking back at them and know that that's the thought process for sure. That's the cool thing about coming back this year and being with the team as early as I am, is that you get to become a part of the team. You get to go through some of the tough stuff with them, as opposed to just showing up and trying to integrate and do all those things. Yeah, that was great, and I made some great relationships in the process. But it always means a lot more, and you can get a lot deeper when you're here going through the whole year and going through the off season with everybody. It just says a little bit more and gives you the ability to kind of I felt like I was part of the team, but this year I think I'll be able to really, really feel like it, because I'll actually be a part of it from day one.
Makes a lot of sense. I don't know if you followed this closely in the offseason, but Joel Bitonio had been talking about retiring. He had kind of said he wasn't 100% sure, and then he decided to come back. I would imagine, and I know he's not the left tackle, but he's the left guard, and he is, from an outsider's perspective, seems to be the leader of that offensive line, as the dean of that offensive line. Got to imagine you're happy he decided to play another year.
Oh yeah, listen, Joel's super important to have in that room and have it on this team. He's one of those guys, we were just talking about it. He's one of those guys that you look at and you feel comfortable, and he gives a response from the rest of the team. People want to play well when he's out there and playing next to him. So he means a ton. Beyond the fact that he's a hell of a player. So
let's talk about some of the guys that you do have a relationship with in terms of the passing game. And I know one guy who I'm guessing is very excited you're coming back. That's David Njoku, because he played his best football of his career. He's a good player, but he put up his best offensive numbers with you as quarterback. What's your what have your interactions been with David, and how excited do you think he is to see you back on the team?
I love David. He's one of those guys. You can see what he does in the field and his physicality and what he can do with the ball when he gets the ball in his hands. But also just he's another guy. Like, he's super important to have on the team for just what he does to the locker room. He definitely uplifts that, elevates that locker room with his personality and, the way he attacks each day and how bright he is and, just always excited. And that was my take on him. And, I'd love to get back to the point where he's jumping up and down in the locker room and having a lot of fun and we're laughing and having a good old time. So I'm excited to get back with him for sure.
Yeah, obviously, even though you were on the team and he was still a member of the team, you didn't get to play with Nick Chubb, of course, because of his injury. And he's moving on, or at least it seems like he probably will at this point, because the Browns drafted 2 running backs. And so for fans, it's very emotional because they're very attached to Nick Chubb, so that's going to be tricky. However, on the field, these 2 young guys, especially Quinshon Judkins from Ohio State, I don't know how much you've seen him play, how much you watch, but obviously we've watched him a lot here in Ohio, and he appears to be at all the makings of a stud running back. How exciting is that to have these 2 young backs that they drafted? Jerome Ford's still a young player who you played with, having some good young talent in that backfield.
I think with the offensive line we have, you always want to have a guy back there that you feel confident with to be able to run the football, because it's something that you want to do. You want to be physical. You want to run the ball downhill and kind of, be able to do some play action off of those things and really, get some chunks in the run game and allow your offense to really flourish. So, if those guys or one of those guys can kind of turn into that legit back, then that's going to make a big difference.
I'm curious, Joe. I know Tom Brady said this last year, and I was curious your take on this. He said that a lot of times, and maybe he was in a way being self-deprecating. I don't know. You know him personally. I don't. But he said that a good percentage of the time that a sack is the quarterback's fault as much as the offensive lineman's fault. Because as fans, we blame the offensive lineman almost every time it's a sack. Yeah. Is that true? Do you agree with Tom, or do you think differently? Like, is the quarterback to blame a decent amount on the sack, or?
I'm sure. Listen, each sack is its own thing, and some sacks aren't as bad as others, and some is scheme, some is O-line, and some is the quarterback. Yeah, there's a lot of sacks that are on the quarterback. Yeah. And sometimes, maybe they don't make that big of a difference. It was third and 7 and you were already on the 10-yard line and you took a 5-yard sack and you're still kicking a field goal. Like, those are still on the stat sheet, but sometimes you're doing those things on purpose. So listen, there's a bunch of things that go into pass protection and being in the pocket and moving in the pocket as the quarterback, getting the ball out in rhythm, throwing when you're hot. And then beyond that, just scheme, like how well are you actually marrying the run and the pass and allowing these guys to fire off the ball and be confident, and in who they're going to and allow them to play full speed. When you have the type of offense that allows those guys up front to do that, they usually do a pretty darn good job. I think if you look around the league, if you just look at all 32 teams and took all the sacks, a healthy portion of those would be on the quarterback.
Joe, it seemed that when you came to Cleveland last time that you and Kevin Stefanski, even though he hadn't coached you before and you came in midseason, it seemed like you guys had great chemistry together. Was that in fact the case? And how different is it now, as you said, being here for the whole season, working with him again?
Yeah, listen, I'm excited to work with Kevin. I enjoyed it last time. I don't want to make too much of what people say about the chemistry. It is what it is. He's the play caller. I'm the quarterback. I hope there's a little bit of chemistry. But I can say, like, I'm definitely excited about, getting back with him. I think Kevin's demeanor is great. I think the way he calls the game was unbelievable. So I'm excited about that for sure.
Kevin in the past, not as much the last 2 years, but before that, his first 3 years here, the Browns ran a lot of 12 personnel. And not as much last year because the tight end depth chart, especially last year, wasn't as good as it had been in the past. But we drafted this kid, Harold Fannin Jr., from Bowling Green. He's a local kid here, so fans, of course, are excited about him. And he's a pass-catching tight end, put up big numbers in the MAC this year. And the speculation is that, okay, maybe Kevin's going to get back to running 12 personnel. Obviously, it's something, if I'm remembering correctly, you ran quite a bit in Baltimore. You're comfortable with that, right?
Listen, I think it's definitely personnel driven. In Baltimore we had Dennis Pitta and Ed Dixon, and we did a lot of it for a few years there because both those guys could catch the rock, and we could still run the ball downhill and do those things. So that was an important personnel for us. Listen, I don't know much about the tight end. I know he did catch a lot of balls at Bowling Green, and I think anytime you catch that many passes, you've had a lot of practice and you've learned things and you've gotten good at it. So that's pretty exciting.
The Browns also, I don't know if you saw this yesterday, signed Deontay Johnson as a free agent. Obviously, his season last year, it ended pretty ugly. Got suspended in Baltimore. It wasn't pretty, but all right. Every new year's a new chance. The guy has some talent. There's no doubt. He put up almost 1,200 yards at Pittsburgh. I want to say 3 years ago. Had 15 touchdowns over consecutive seasons. I would assume be in the mix. So, what do you think of the addition, just from an on the field standpoint, of Deontay Johnson?
Listen, I don't know enough about these guys. I don't pay attention enough. But I think anytime guys have a chance to go out there and prove themselves, and they're in that position where they kind of want to prove themselves a little bit, and maybe they need to a little bit, then hopefully we can create the right environment for him to come in and be a part of that and really, be the guy that he wants to be. And I think if that happens, then it's something that we can all get excited about.
So, Joe, what have you? I think I asked you this last time, but what have you done for fun? What are you doing as you're coming down the home stretch? You can't play forever. Eventually, Are you doing some fun things that could turn into something like you're learning to play the guitar? Are you doing any of this, or is it all still just football?
It's mostly football and kids and stuff like that. But listen, I love in general to hang around with my family and go to a little league field on a Sunday and go throw the football around with the kids on a Saturday and go play some pickleball, do those kind of things. Something active with people I care about. Those are the best things to me. So,
how old are your kids, Joe?
So my oldest is 12. I got 12, 11, 10, 8, and 7.
Okay. So oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're right in the middle of it, but it's kind of a nice little sweet spot for us, to be honest.
Do you do any of the coaching? Is there any, little league coaching? Any of that? You're just sitting back?
Just sitting back. I'm on the sidelines and in the background, but I'm just sitting back. I'm letting other people take over with that.
And is there pressure on the little league coaches? Like, Joe Flacco's kid is on my team. Is there any of that? Or do you try to keep them calm?
No. I don't think so. There's so much pressure with a lot of these kids already as it is. My kids aren't one of those kids that's running around doing a million travel games and AAU games and all those things. They're keeping it to one sport at a time. So that's not the kind of energy that we're bringing to the game. And I think a lot of these coaches are already putting enough pressure on themselves anyway. So.
Oh my gosh, I coach Little League for my son, and I try to keep it. I talk to the kids about let's have fun. Yeah, we want to win, but we want to do it with class. We want to be good teammates. Do all that stuff. Yeah,
listen, and where we live, there's a lot of kids that are playing. It's a pretty big little league. They do it. It's a small town, but they get a lot of participation. I think the coaches, overall, I think the coaches do an unbelievable job. Kind of keeping the kids interested in it, letting them have fun, but being competitive. It overall, like, the kids are up there hanging out on nights they're not even playing, cheering on the other kids and running around the other fields. It's a pretty cool environment for them to kind of have fun and play baseball in a low pressure environment. So it's pretty good.
In terms of football, what's your thoughts on what age kids should start tackling? Do you have a specific opinion on that?
I don't. Yeah. I think most kids are okay. I think pretty much all kids are okay starting in first grade. They don't weigh anything. There's no there's no crazy collisions going on. But having said that, I also don't think there's a huge point to play when you're 6 years old. You're not getting much from playing tackle football. I'd rather see you out there throwing and catching and running and doing sports that allow you to do those things and gain some skills, and then pick up football when you turn 10, 11, 12, I think tackling at that point, you can actually start to learn how to do it. And I think there's probably some advantage in learning how to do that correct from a young age. But ultimately, I think you're okay to play it, and I don't think you need to play it super early. So, like, find that balance, and if your kid's super interested in it, sign them up. Let them play. It's a great sport. It's gonna help your child out so much more than it's gonna hurt them. I think the fear in the last few years has just gotten, a little bit overblown, and especially at that level, the collisions just aren't big enough. So,
I just want to end it with one last thing about football, and I want to go back to your Super Bowl championship year. Your play in that postseason was, frankly, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, because I've said it before, as good as any quarterback has ever played in the postseason. You were just at another level that year. Did you feel it? Like, when you're playing, do you know, like, my God, I'm playing my best football. We're just killing it.
Oh man, it's so crazy. Because like, a drop of the ball one way or the other, like maybe we lose a divisional round. We got close to losing a divisional round game there, but then all of a sudden we were winning the AFC Championship game. So it's so crazy how those things work out. But I think that's kind of like the mindset of just sticking to it and kind of giving yourselves more opportunities. And I will say, by the time we got to the Super Bowl that year, I did feel just a sense of calm throughout our whole team.
Yeah,
we went down to New Orleans, and it was as though we knew we were going to win that game, and that's obviously very easy to say after we actually won it. But there was that. I don't know. We had been battle tested. That team had been together for a handful of years now, and we'd been through some tough times. And getting through and getting to that game, there was definitely a sense of just kind of in the zone. You kind of felt like when I look back at that, I remember kind of feeling in the zone when we were down in New Orleans preparing for that game. So,
Joe, it was great to catch up with you again. I appreciate you taking the time. Wish you the best of luck. Everybody here is rooting for you, wants to see you succeed another season with the Browns, and hopefully it will be as exciting, if not more, than it was the last time you were here. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Awesome talking with Joe Flacco. He's always a lot of fun to chat with. We talked off the air briefly, gave him some restaurant tips in addition to the ones I mentioned on the air. Joe Flacco's awesome. Hey, he seems to believe there's going to be a legit competition. I'm hoping there is. Nobody's owed a ton of money here. Nobody was an investment of high draft capital. There's no reason for the four guys not to legitimately compete. I think it's pretty simple. Thanks, everybody, for joining me, as always. Thanks especially to Joe for joining me today. Thanks, all of you, for listening and watching. Please hit the subscribe button. Thanks to Max and Z for producing. We'll talk to you all next time, and that next time will be Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Dustin rejoins me. We'll be live Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Until then, we'll talk to you next time. Where else but right here in the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by Bet Rivers. See ya.